All right. So today we're gonna take some time to talk about this 2026 GMC Sierra Elevation Standard Range. So I've been driving this car for roughly about a day and a half, and these are my initial impressions on what I think is good, what I think is bad, and why you should really consider buying this vehicle. This thing currently carries a $7,500 EV credit. Now, the EV credit officially, as of right now, unless something dramatically changes, ends on September 30th. So after September 30th, you will not be eligible, or nobody will be eligible for that $7,500 EV credit. Obviously, $7,500 is quite a bit of money on this particular vehicle. MSRP on this thing starts a shy under 65,000, like I think it's 64,995, so it's about $5 under $65,000 with that tax EV credit, along with the GMC rebates that they're giving you right now. You can lease this thing right now for 36 months for under 500 bucks easily, probably even cheaper than that because of that tax EV credit. So that's one thing to keep in mind from a money saving perspective. You really want to try and pull the trigger before September 30th. I don't think anybody wants to cough up 7,500 bucks when they don't have to, especially when it's not your money, right? So anyway, so a couple things that I noticed when I started driving this thing yesterday. I've always really enjoyed the GMC front end. Their front end for GMC has always been like really kind of burly to me. They tend to have a more kind of boxy feel. Kind of gives me the sense of a bigger truck, right? So that's one of the things for GMC that I've always appreciated. On the EV truck, one of the things that you'll notice on the Sierra EV, obviously you have all of your standard wraparound LEDs, which are really cool. But even on this like base elevation, which is essentially, this is about as cheap as you can get for a Sierra EV, right? So this is kind of like the starting point for a Sierra EV. But even with the starting point, you kind of get this really nice black, kind of blacked out front end, right? Which looks absolutely mean and fierce. I know it's an EV, but I happen to think that it looks really, really good. Obviously, you got all of the cutouts for the fans here. You have the big GMC logo, obviously in red, which is really, really cool. And at night, these lights here, what I've noticed, look super menacing, right? So the lights look absolutely amazing on this vehicle when I was driving it at night. So when I took delivery of the truck yesterday, before I started to drive, one of the other things that I noticed is that even on this elevation, you do get the side sills, or you get the side steps, so you can kind of climb into the vehicle relatively easy. So it's not very difficult to kind of get into the car. The truck is not super high, so it's not like, you know, it's lifted or anything like that. But if you have a wife or a daughter or little kids, they can easily get in and out of the vehicle with these side steps on. So these are your standard GMC wheels that it does come with. So again, this is standard equipment, right? So there is no add-ons on this particular Sierra EV. So it does have the polished aluminum wheels with the black center caps there on the GMC logo. Again, nothing special, but certainly not cheap wheels, obviously, right? So you get those all the way around. You obviously got the black fender flares to match the steps. And then you also have the black colored mirrors, which again, I personally appreciate. I know some of you may not like that. I've always liked the black mirrors, especially when you're talking about the fact that the accents on the car are all black. I just think it gives us a really kind of good aesthetic, right? You know, body colored mirrors really have never been my thing too much, especially when it comes to trucks, maybe like on sports cars or something. But on a truck, I've never minded the kind of the black colored wheels, right? Or the black side mirrors here. Another thing that I noticed about this truck is it is absolutely massive from the inside. And obviously we have to have Birks in here, right? Like what would a truck be without Birkenstocks, right? Amazing space in this thing, right? So yesterday I carried 3 soccer boys and a wife. And one of the things that the boys mentioned right away when they got in the truck, they're like, oh my God, there's like tons of space back here. The space in the back of the truck is absolutely like ginormous. Also has a really cool, again, to some people, maybe not their flavor. I really enjoyed it. One of the things about GMCs, if you notice, is when you compare this against maybe like a Chevy brand truck, they always have a higher end interior. The interior on GMCs is always gonna be a little bit more posh, right? A little bit more put together. You're not gonna get a lot of the rattles and squeaks. The truck was surprisingly quiet, right? Not a lot of creaks at all. Very solidly built. And I actually really enjoyed kind of this dash with the material that they have accent all the way around. I really kind of enjoyed that. Kind of gave it a really nice look and a really nice combo, along with these seats right here. Again, same kind of scenario here with the stitching. The bucket seats here are absolutely amazing. That's the one thing that I did notice too yesterday when I started driving it, is the comfort of the seats, right? It didn't feel like a truck. It felt, what's the best way? I guess it felt more like a sporty, like what you would find in like a sporty SUV, right? Like the seats were super, super supportive. And it did not feel like a truck at all, which is really weird. Because again, it is a truck and it's a big truck. You can fit tons of stuff in here. So that's one of the other things that I really did appreciate. So a couple things, electronics, if you're into technology. So GMC, as you know, 2026 moving forward, they did away with the Android Auto. So if you have Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, those are no longer a standard in any of the infotainment systems for any GMC vehicles. Essentially what they've elected to do is you got an app store, right? So you can go into the app store for both Android and Apple, and then you could download those apps, right? So you could download YouTube Music, you could download Google Play Books, you could download Apple Music, you could download, any of the streaming apps for music, Spotify, and then you log into your account that way, and then that is how you kind of listen. So they're kind of taking the same approach as like a Tesla, for example. For Tesla, they've never had Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. So that's one of the things that you're gonna have to get used to from a 2025 into a 2026, that you no longer have the ability to do that. So the screen on this thing is absolutely massive. Love the screen. My son mentioned it yesterday. He's like, oh my God, that screen is so big. So now, just like the Hummer EV, and again, kind of great combination between like electronics and touchscreen and physical buttons. I really appreciated that on the Hummer EV. Now with the Sierra, same concept. If you look at the bottom of the screen, it has all of the normal touch functions for us, like a screen should have. But down here, you'll notice you have some physical buttons. Every one of those physical buttons are touch buttons. So simple things, right? Things that shouldn't be rocket science. Changing the air conditioning, turning off the air, things like that are all down in those touch buttons. Super easy for you to adjust the temperature, super easy for you to turn off, turn on the air conditioning, and some of the other basic functions of the infotainment system are in those physical buttons, which I really do appreciate. Instead of you having to dig around when you're driving with the infotainment system, trying to figure out how to get to the air conditioning, some of that is done directly from the buttons down at the bottom. So that's kind of one of the other things I noticed. I'll give you kind of a rough idea of what the back looks like. Obviously, I do have some stuff in here already, as you guys can see. I'm trying to kind of live the life of what it would be if I drove it every single day. Same thing as the dash. So same material that they have on the dash is on the sides of the doors, which I think is really, really cool. And again, back to the room on this thing is insanely good. I mean, it is ridiculously large. I had 3 boys back here yesterday. 2 of them had their soccer backpacks because they didn't want to put it in the back. And even with the 3 soccer boys back here, with 2 of their big soccer backpacks, they were able to fit in here super comfortable. And every one of them mentioned the same thing. They're like, oh my God, this thing is so big. So from a room perspective, you got tons of room back here, which is really, really neat. And the seats are super easy to fold. These seats actually fold flat against the back. When you do that, it actually gives you this entire space for you to be able to put whatever you want, right? So when these seats fold back, and it's almost like a 60-40 split, so you can fold either the 60 part or the 40 part flat against the back. That'll give you complete access to this entire section here. It lays completely flat, and you can fit, tons of stuff in there, man. So one of the other things that I noticed. So as we head into the back. Now, I was a little shocked. So, these new trucks are kind of known for some of the really neat function of the tailgate. So the tailgates kind of are multifunctional, right? It's no longer just a tailgate. It's a tailgate and you can turn it into a step. Now, in the past, the reality is on some of these trucks, that's been an option. It hasn't been standard. So when I got the truck, I thought, hey, it's a base model. It's probably not going to be standard. They're not going to give me a step. It's going to be the next version up or the other trim level up of the elevation that is going to give me that step. Well, much to my surprise, they gave me the step. So even on your base model elevation, you have this really cool step. And just like you would on any other GMC, there you go, push the button, and there's your step. Pretty simple, right? So you do get the full step, so you can step up. I went to Costco yesterday, so I did a Costco run. I had the back relatively full of a bunch of stuff because I bought some stuff for the office, and I was able to get in and out, no problem. It was super easy, super convenient. I really appreciate the fact that you do get the step even with the base model elevation. You don't have to pay extra in order for you to get the step, which I thought was really, really cool. So again, same thing, just kind of like the front. Really love the LED lights in the back. That's the one thing I appreciated. The reason the LED lights are coming on, I've noticed every time I get close to the truck and I have the key in my pocket, it automatically recognizes the key and it'll automatically turn on all the lights. So that way, if you're like in a somewhere in dark or maybe like a parking garage, the minute you start approaching the truck, the minute it reads the key, the lights on the truck will start turning on, which is really neat. So it kind of gives you some safety there. If you're a woman, maybe in a dark garage, it'll start to light everything up, which is really, really neat. You also have the insteps back bumper, which I thought was really cool. Again, pretty much standard. And again, on this elevation, even though it is a base model, you do get a full tow capability and full tow package on this thing. I'm not exactly sure what the tow capacity is. We'll do some research there and probably put it on the overlay of the video. So you're probably going to see it somewhere on the screen here, what the exact tow package capacity of the vehicle is. But it does come with a tow package automatically included. And finally, from a driver's perspective, right? So from a driver's perspective, again, super neat, easy to drive, surprisingly has some guts to it. Yesterday I was driving it and I was getting onto an on-ramp, and the on-ramp that I'm getting into here in town is super short. So I really had to kind of step on it to try to get this freeway speed. For as heavy as this thing is, I think it's like a little over 9,000 gross weight pounds, which is super heavy. So certainly a safe vehicle if you got a family or a wife driving with some kids. Super safe vehicle. This thing got up freeway traffic. I mean, I was going, dead stop, maybe 15, 20 miles an hour when I got on, all the way up to right around 75, which was what the traffic was moving at that moment in time. And that thing happened in like no time at all. So from a, hey, does it drive as big as it looks? No, not really. Again, same thing like the Hummer EV. I kind of mentioned this on the Hummer EV video when I had the Hummer for a couple weeks, is it's a big vehicle, it's a heavy vehicle. The fact that it is an EV and electric, it doesn't drive like one. Especially this particular vehicle. I actually would say that these seats are probably a little bit better than the Hummer EV. They're more supportive and they're a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, right? They're more comfortable. But as far as how does it drive, it doesn't feel heavy. It's super nimble. The car drives super soft, super quiet, not a lot of kind of noise or creaking or anything like that. And like I said, you don't really have to get on it in order to get up to freeway speed in order for you to make a pass. It is a very, very comfortable truck to drive. So those are my initial impressions of this 2026 Sierra EV Elevation. Again, just to keep in mind, the tax EV credit ends September 30th. After that, this exact truck is actually going to cost you $7,500 more money. So if you've ever thinking about getting one or you've ever thought about getting one, I would certainly get down here, take a look at the truck, drive it, see if it suits your needs. You can buy it relatively for a very affordable payment right now. And with that being said, we'll be putting out more videos on this Sierra EV after I get a minute to drive it for a few more days. But those are my initial impressions. So anyway, so hopefully this content was useful. Hopefully we've added some value. Hopefully I've touched on some points that are important to you or the family. And we'll catch you on the next video. Bye.